Okay, Ross here from the Devil's Advocate, and I'm here with
Rachel.
Rachel. You are now the camera spokesperson for Extinction Rebellion.
Yeah.
Right now, my process of thought is like, have you ever heard of the expression someone's playing the devil's advocate?
Yeah.
Right. Now I can see valid points to a good argument. Now, to me, some of the points that need to be argued or discussed or debated or whatever, personally, I'd like to see a national platform where everyone can get on there and people can have their debate. I prefer to use the word discussion, because you might know something I don't, and I might have a point of view that you're not aware to, so, or vice versa, or other people, so it's like a big think tank. We get to kick the ball around. Now, apart from the climate emergency, which I think is probably a strong word, some people would say it's a strong word, other people wouldn't, but that's your point of view. That's where we need to have the debate. I want to get some simple. Do you think that there is too much corruption in government and corporations?
Yeah, so what we're seeing is a lot of political donations. So we're seeing large sums of money being donated to particular political parties from the fossil fuel companies. So while there's you can't really point a direct link between these things, it's clear in the way that politicians are acting. Like we're seeing with this gas-led recovery. According to the Australian Institute, gas has made essentially no impact on the economic recovery so far, which is what it was supposed to do when the government announced this gas-led recovery. And we're seeing that gas is portrayed as this green fuel when it's still a fossil fuel, and you're trying to point the link of why
it's probably slightly better than coal.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I still think we should get away from coal. Right. So, like, there's certain points that I'll agree with you on this. There's probably quite a few, but putting, to throw a cat amongst the pigeons. Now, a lot of the climate emergency people would definitely say no to nuclear reactors. Right. Have you ever heard of thorium as a nuclear reactor? Right. Okay, so you probably have to do some research on that, because I've just caught you out that you don't know something. See, this is where I think discussion's coming good.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, because I have done some research. You ever heard of a cycle called the Milankovitch cycles? All right, so okay, well, there's something else you probably have to research, because I don't know everything about it, but I have seen a number of presentations. Now, nuclear energy to me, I think, is the way to go, because as much as wind and solar panels have their place, they don't produce enough power to sustain the growing population. Nuclear power would. Now, I'll give you the summary on thorium. That is a fuel for nuclear energy. It's on the periodic table with uranium. It's 2 elements less. Now, the presentations that I've seen, and there's probably a couple of dozen different designs for thorium molten salt reactors, they are about 10,000 times safer than uranium. They give off a different radiation spectrum. They let off alpha instead of gamma. The uranium waste that is created by uranium, thorium uses that. And instead of the 5% that uranium uses, thorium uses 98%. So there's very little waste, and it's a different radiation level. So I'll just leave that with you, so you can research it later. And if I come across you again, then you can give me a better understanding of what we're talking about. But you'll get that. There you go. Right, now, you're talking about the money that goes into the wrong places. So you're talking about lobbyists?
Yeah. So
right.
Political donations.
Yeah, see, I completely I think that should be dissolved. Myself, personally, that's me personally. So we're sort of in agreement there. Right now, I think corporations and the fact that politicians, when they retire, they become lobbyists for corporations, which go back into the parliament. They see their friends, and they know how to manipulate their friends, their old friends of the parliament, and then it keeps the corporation cogs going. Right now, see, I'm in agreement with you there. It's just we've got to get to this stage where we can all sort this out amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I feel that the government and corporations are putting false divisions in it. It's like voting Labor or Liberal, right? It doesn't matter which one you're voting for corporations.
Yeah.
And if you've got, say, Liberals in bed with the Nationals and Greens, the Labor's in bed with the Greens, like they're almost a silent partner. They'll disagree with that statement, but they are. Now, the way I see it, you've got to disassociate. I mean, as much as the Greens say, oh, we don't take corporate donations, but they follow the money. A lot of people that call themselves socialists or social justice warriors, they still adhere to the money system quite well, and they get quite wealthy of it. Like the Black Lives Matter girl that bought several houses. She's saying she's being a social warrior, but yet she's made herself a lot of money doing that. Shouldn't that be someone like that? That's corruption to that person. So people from that sort of order should just go, mate, you're not in our cause at all. Get the fuck out. Would you think that would be a fair statement?
I think we really want to like spread a message that no matter who you are, that you can join this fight. And yeah, like we've got people from all walks of life here, and we don't really want to alienate people based on class, race, gender, anything. Obviously, we do have our principles and values, and that's sort of our guide that we follow in Extinction Rebellion every day. But yeah, I think we don't want to alienate people in that way. Yeah, I guess it depends whether they're following our principles and beliefs.
Well, see, to me, this is only my personal opinion. I wouldn't be opposed to alienating certain people. Like, not everyone's going to get along with everyone.
Yeah.
It's like you've got to put the problem out into the centre of so let's say there's a circle. You've got left, right, Tories, poor people, and you've got a big spectrum of people. And you've got to put the problem in the centre for everyone to kick the ball around. There's always going to be someone that won't agree with anyone.
Yeah.
Right? So if everyone has a majority sort of, okay, we'll agree this is the solution to the problem, some people are always going to say, no, that's not the solution. You'd have to turn around and say, look, well, we're going to exclude you from this because you're not being reasonable. And that's the idea of it. You've got to be a reasonable person. You've got to have, if you don't agree with the consensus of the majority, you've got to discuss it and debate your point of view to make them see it. To me, by calling people names, which I get quite a lot, I go, oh, you're just a bigot, or you're narrow-minded, or whatever. Well, I'm prepared to discuss anything. So, to me, that's the point. We've got to have the open discussion. I actually am trying to plant the seed of people about, like, this phone here, right? Now, how many people in Australia have got the touch phone and so on? Now, why don't we, and I put it to a politician just yesterday, because the government's got the resources to do it, create an app that goes from MyGov and it goes to a site, something like Facebook, where everyone can interact, right? No censorship. So you can put up ridiculous ideas, but if they are ridiculous ideas, they're obviously going to fall away pretty quick. If they're good ideas, it's like cream. They're going to float to the top. And with that, kick the ball around. Because it's a registered site, you have to show that you're an Australian and a voter. No trolls, so it narrows the field. No overseas trolls, no fake IDs. So that you only get concerned citizens there. They kick the ball around, and then once they do that, you have a survey, like Facebook has surveys, votings, so on, and then you send it off to Parliament, and then they follow what the majority are saying in that circle because they're registered voters. Now, do you think that's a good concept?
We actually have a similar concept, which I think would work well. So we have one of our domains is Citizens Assembly. So that's where we have a group of, or People's Assembly, whichever way you look at it. We have a group of everyday people joining together, and they say they decide on things together, and the government acts on that. So we want everyday people within the political process.
What's it called? The Citizens Assembly.
Citizens Assembly, yeah.
Okay. Because like on Facebook, I go to all different sites. And YouTube, I look up at all different sorts of things because I keep telling people that they are the algorithm, right? So when you start looking stuff up, the algorithm will suggest more of that. And if you keep thinking about that one thing, you'll only get that one focus. So I look up different things like monsters and aliens and all sorts of, like the left, the right, and I just look it all up so I get a spectrum. Like the algorithm probably hates me because I confuse it. They don't know what I want. Well, it's not what I want. I want to see everyone else benefit and happier, right? Now, I actually find the word climate emergency, I find that a little bit harsh because Al Gore is probably now getting close to being a billionaire because he started this climate melting, the poles will be melting and yes, I can see the results that it is starting to deteriorate, but in other parts of the world, some of the glaciers are actually growing. Now, if all the water was melting in the world, and say if it's melting on the South Pole, the water level would rise globally. I've had some people say to me, no, the water level will only rise in that ocean. Well, if you pour water, regardless of how big your bowl is, you pour water in from one side, it's going to raise the whole lot, isn't it?
Well, so what we stand by is 99.7% of scientists agree that climate change is happening and that it's caused by humans. And I think the thing that gets lost in translation a lot is we hear this term global warming, so we just assume, climate change is about rising temperatures, but there's so many other things that interact with that, like severe weather events will become more frequent and more severe.
Which they are, I agree with that.
Yeah, and basically the two ends of the extreme, like we're going to see colder winters and warmer summers. And that's sort of, I think, that gets lost. And all these things that interconnect, like we will see food shortages and famine and social collapse if we don't act. And even if we do act, we have a very limited time frame. Like we've known about this for, I think, 70 years or something like that. We've known it's been happening. But we haven't seen any real action because the way that the political process works is you get elected and all you think about is getting
re-elected
again. And there's not a long-term approach or really a united front that's been working so far.
I agree with all that.
And that's what we're here to do. Well, today particularly it's about gas and the gas-led recovery, but we're here to sort of force the government to change because social action and the people rising up is the only thing that will lead to social change. It's been shown throughout history, like all of the rights that I can stand here as a woman today and have a job and have a stable life of my own, not attached to a man because of women protesting and civil rights movement. People have gotten miles ahead in that and lots of other social movements. It's all been about this idea of direct action and people rising up together and making this message so that the government can't ignore when they have to act.
What do you think about the fact that there might be a small percentage of people in corporations that manipulate their wealth to make it look biblical? We'll use the word biblical because in the Bible it says there's going to be earthquakes and famines and so on. Now, if you've got a lot of money, and I'm talking like some people might say more money than God, that you can manipulate the market and situations where it might create famines in some areas of the planet. It obviously won't create earthquakes, but there is, to me, that's corruption and greed. Like you're so greedy that you're going to be corrupt enough to do whatever you want to make yourself more money.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who you hurt. Now that apart from morally wrong.
I'll jump in for a second.
Yep.
I need you over
We've
here.
got to run. Sorry, but
All right.
yeah, it was good to talk to you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.